Let's move on now to the San Francisco 49ers free agency review. But before we do that, if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also ring that bell so you can get notified when new 49ers content. After this series, we have a lot more content that's going to be around the predictions and previewing the 2023 NFL season, which means division winners, game predictions each week, including all the 49ers games. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified when that new content is released. And Ryan, let's get into it here. So the 49ers are coming off just a tough set. I feel like I want to say disappointing end to the season, but it's not disappointing just because it didn't meet expectations, just the way that it all ended. Yeah. Because it was such a fun kind of journey to watch with Brock Purdy. Now there's questions with his elbow coming into the offseason, but they addressed some of that. They did sign Sam Darnold to the team to replace Jimmy Garoppolo, who was getting paid. But it was just they weren't just going to keep repaying him $20 million, but they got Sam Darnold on for what looks like $4.5 million with the base value, including $3.5 million guaranteed, but with a max value of $11.5 million if you include incentives. And we'll come back to him in a second because some of the other additions that they got that I like, Javon Hargrave, I think is a good addition because they lost several members on the defensive line as well. They also then brought in some other players like Isaiah Oliver from the Falcons, and also there was somebody else here that I was going to bring in as well. They actually did trade for a kicker, which I thought was very funny. But going back to Sam Darnold, though, that to me I think is the most intriguing addition so far to the 49ers offseason before we get even into kind of their overall roster. But just because for this team being considered one of the top teams in the NFC, we have no idea who's going to be behind center this upcoming season, which is kind of a big deal. And Sam Darnold, when he did come back in and play with the Panthers at the end of last year, he wasn't a horrible game manager. And the 49ers offense has been proven that is all they need. They really just need a game manager. Don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he sets a floor for that room. I know Sam Darnold was a former first-round pick and Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant, but I would much rather have Brock Purdy be functioning in this offense.
I completely agree.
If he's healthy.
We don't know I know Ben Roethlisberger got Tommy John, but he got Tommy John in the beginning of the season, so allowed for I don't say well over a calendar year, but close to a calendar year of full recovery and everything. Brock Purdy's Tommy John injury happened in January, so we don't know if he's going to be ready, and Tommy John's a big deal, especially
the only thing with Tommy John is Ben Roethlisberger's throwing form is what tore his ligament in his elbow. Brock Purdy was hit, and that tore the ligament in his elbow. Brock Purdy's throwing motion doesn't really rely too much on that ligament. And so, and also correct throwing form shouldn't really rely on it. So that's why it is a pretty rare injury for quarterbacks. So,
I mean, I'm not a medical expert. I don't know. I feel like most ligaments in your elbow are important for throwing, and so that's what for me when I see a QB getting it. So that's where to me, it makes me draw pause on who's the QB going to be. And also, too, we haven't even talked about Trey Lance yet, so we don't even know if Trey Lance is going to take the reins or not. Are they just giving up on him? Are they going to try and get draft capital for him? Because to be completely fair, Brock Purdy did earn. I mean, he got them all the way to the NFC Championship game, and if it wasn't for this injury, he would be the bona fide starter. It wouldn't even be a debate. So it's very curious on kind of what the 49ers are going to do at the quarterback position because, to be frank, if we could probably go to the depth chart now and to their roster as we kind of go through the breakdown. They lost a lot, but then they signed a lot, and they're still kind of the same team, and they're still really good.
Getting into the roster, the only one that I really see that they didn't really replace was Mike McGlinchey, the right tackle. But even then, I think Colton McKivitz is going to come in and just kind of take that role over. I don't know if he'll do it as well, but I think that's just their plan is we let him walk. We'll just have this kid come in and play.
That's why you draft guys like him in the 5th round. So then when there is a transitional period and you see if he can be the guy like how Mike McGlinchey was, you know. and then you develop him from there.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting story to watch. Their wide receiver room, I think, has stayed pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, offensively, the biggest question mark is going to be this quarterback room. But there's such an odd sense of confidence that I have in the fact that they will figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but I just think that they will.
Well, because I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, look at what they've done with Jimmy Garoppolo as their QB.
Yeah.
And then they did what they did with Brock Purdy, like the third string Mr. Irrelevant quarterback. And we're like, oh, season shot, another waste. Like, that's very unfortunate. And then they go and do what they do, and it's because Kyle Shanahan has this offense set up in a way where and it's the way most teams should do it. And I think where a lot of teams are trying to establish kind of this philosophy around it. But you need to spread out the big bucks that you're going to spend on your quarterback position all throughout the entire offense and also the defense as well, because the QB is just one guy. Yes, it is good to have an elite quarterback, but if you can get a guy like Brock Purdy that can be a point guard, or shoot, a Jimmy G that can be a point guard and can just help facilitate the ball to the key players, the big money making players like Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk came on strong last year. So George Kittle as well. I totally forgot about him. And just don't make mistakes. Don't create turnovers. Then this team's going to be successful. And then when you have a great mind like Kyle Shanahan as well, that can get anybody open. That's also not a bad combination.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think this offense will be fine. I just think it's going to be a lot of stories and bold predictions and whatnot about this quarterback room. So
this I will say this with this offense, you're absolutely right. I feel like this has similar vibes to last year with the Chiefs. Like all this stuff, what's going to happen, all these question marks. And even then, we just did the Seahawks video, and we said, like, there's no reason why the Seahawks can't win this division. And I still stand by that statement. But now that we're looking at this, and it's like, yeah, we said the same thing about that with the Broncos last year, the Raiders, Chargers last year. The Chiefs are going to fall off. And
yeah,
no one's dethroned the 49ers now outside of the COVID year, which was kind of, I think, a spoof year for the 49ers.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and move on now to this defense here. So to me, this defense, they lost their biggest loss was Demeco Ryans, right? Going to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. He was the architect of that defense last year, which was definitely the number one defense in the NFL. But they still have so many just solid players, right? Javon Hargrave, Nick Bosa. Javon Kinlaw was really solid before he got injured in his rookie season. Arik Armstead, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, right? Talanoa Hufanga. Like, this defense is still really, really good. Yeah. And I mean, they're going to – I think they're still just going to be as good as they were last year. Maybe fall off. Maybe they're not the best. Maybe they're top 5.
Yeah.
But, at that point, you're splitting hairs.
That's very well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. Anybody that had left, like Aziz Al-Shaair that did leave at the linebacker position, I think that he's gone. There was the one, I'm blanking on the secondary gentleman that left.
I am too.
He went to Houston because he followed Demeco Ryans there.
I forget his name. I can't think of it at the moment.
No. I got it right here. Was it Shaq? Jimmy Ward.
Yeah.
So he left and followed him from there. So, but once again, kind of what you said with the offense, I just feel like they're going to figure it out. I feel like they got the organization coaches that are there, and also then the front office staff. I think can figure it out here. So, moving on though now to what like their expectations are and like what would be a good season is to them. Winning the Super Bowl, because they should have done it the past couple of years. They've had the team to do it, but for some odd reason or another, not saying that they would have beat the Eagles at Philadelphia. I feel like it was just destined for the Kelsey brothers to face each other in the postseason. But then just the way that everything happened last year really did kind of leave a sour taste, I feel like, in everybody's mouth watching that game, because you're just like, man, like let's just stop this now. The Eagles just got up 3 touchdowns and like, well, we know they can't score, so let's just not blow this thing. And so they have the talent that's there. The quarterback position is going to be the thing to watch in this upcoming season, because if Purdy's able to come back, I think it's his job. He earned it. But then also too, it's a huge opportunity for Trey Lance and Sam Darnold to be like, hey, no, I've got some legit talent here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I couldn't have really said it better. I think that you look at what they've done the last few years, they've been pretty close, but not quite. In the last, I think, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think like 5th time's the charm for them. Again, quarterback's going to be the biggest story, but I think I stand by the fact I think they'll figure it out. So
yeah,
let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Tracy Take here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what your favorite offseason edition was for the San Francisco 49ers. Was it a draftee? Was it a free agent signing? Let us know down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.